let's begin by becoming fully aware of ourselves. I'd like us all to acknowledge a component of our being. If you could change one thing about your hair, what would it be? Would you make it shorter or longer? Would you wear it free or high up in a big afro? Would you have it dreadlocked? Its presence on our heads alone makes up a multi-billion-dollar industry. Hair forms a large portion of our identities and tells us many stories about our ethnicity, our economic status, and so on. It's been used in the entertainment industry, for example, in this show, to transform characters into different beings with just one aspect, hair. Has anyone ever asked you, hey, can I touch your hair? Or, hey, do you wash your hair? Or, my personal favorite, do you use a comb? These are a few questions that I have encountered as an African girl with natural hair and specifically with dreadlocks. My major inspiration for taking this wild turn was actually my family, and specifically, my mom. My mom was like the hugest kind of inspiration for me. She swapped her synthetic braids and extensions for natural hair, and she decided to get dreadlocks. See, at the time, it was about 2005, and as a young child, I really wanted to be just like her. I remember I was all like, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be just like you and have my own dreadlocks. And sure enough, that didn't happen until recently. As I grew up, I used to go to the salon. And the thing is, I hated salons. What can I tell you about salons, except for the long hours, the smell of singed hair, all crisply roasted by that blow dry, the excessive heat and the pain, oh my gosh, like I can't. That was my experience, and I wanted a way out of the torture. So I cut my hair into an afro, and that's how I rocked myself for a few years. However, at the time, I wasn't able to get my dreadlocks because of school regulations, 844 system. Well, what is going natural? Going natural is all about embracing your hair's natural texture without chemical modifications. That is like chemical relaxers, excessive heat, and just letting your hair grow the way it was supposed to be. This can be done in several forms. You can wear your hair curly, you can have an afro, you can have protective styles like braids, or just like me, you could have dreadlocks. Having natural hair actually enabled me to embrace my hair in new and exciting ways. I was able to take control of all the processes that guaranteed its growth. I was using natural products such as coconut oil, almond, and shea butter, and this assisted me in the process of self-love. So, the very interesting thing about natural hair is that you actually get to feel your hair. I know it sounds a bit silly, but the whole concept is a bit alien to some people who have never really gotten to know that one aspect that makes them who they are, because they were told of a different standard. A standard that always encouraged straight, flawless hair. However, when you begin the natural hair process, your hair begins to grow, slowly at first, like a tiny potted plant. And then slowly by slowly, it begins to flourish, and you have this big, huge thing on your head, and you begin to celebrate its success. So, social media has actually been the root of spreading awareness, and social media platforms are able to connect individuals with each other who undergo the same experiences, who are now starting to realize their natural hair textures and also beginning to explore their ethnic heritage and ancestry. The most beautiful aspect of it, as I see, is that you get to see your ancestry, that it still lives in you. And no matter what happens, in spite of the influence of westernization, this ancestry persists and is never really gone. So, with every movement, there are issues. For the natural hair movement, this is cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation involves a dominant group exploiting a culture which is less privileged without having that drive to really understand the particular culture, without understanding the culture's history, their tradition, as well as their experiences. I have actually witnessed a lot of backlash to those who emulate and imitate hairstyles that are normally associated with a certain ethnic group. For example, the issue of braids extensions and Caucasians. There is actually the feeling that there's such a big problem and people try to pursue the versatility of their hair. But the main problem is the ignorance that comes from both ends of the spectrum. Let me tell you something about dreadlocks. Dreadlocks are an outlier to this issue of cultural appropriation. Did you know that dreadlocks are not for those with African ethnic roots alone? They are actually found on people from different parts of the world. Here's an example of a sadhu. The sadhus and sadhvis are known for their long and sacred hair, and they are worn as an outward symbol of devotion to the dreadlocked Lord Shiva. Anthropological discoveries in places like Tibet, the Middle East, Nepal, and Indonesia, the list goes on and on. They keep on finding that we have so many similarities with each other. So, what's the point I'm trying to get across? Our similarities are stronger than our differences. We should all take part in advocating for the beauty and versatility of hair. Let's acknowledge the process of embracing. Within the process of embracing, there's actually little room for negativity or hatred. Through learning about different cultures, gaining respect for the diversity of people, and realizing that we are all connected, one day, we will really acknowledge that we are inherently drawn towards harmony with each other. Thank you.